Welcome to Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, a step away from urban living, the stresses of daily life, and even the internet. You can see even here at Lake Atitlan, which was once a crater now filled in with rainwater, surrounded by the volcanoes, you are certainly cut off from the rest of civilization. Surrounding towns may still have the hustle and bustle of produce, taxis, and tourists, but here at the Mystical Yoga Farm, our main focus is meditation, yoga instruction, and sustainable farming. So I hope you'll join me on my journey to learn a little more about myself, and then also meditation, mindfulness, and maybe you might learn a little more about yourself as well. Come.
It was in May of 2011 when I went to Costa Rica, and I decided to let all that I know, or I think I know from previous upbringing, let all that go and just follow my heart. Go to Costa Rica, surf, do yoga every day. And the first day that I was surfing, the first wave that I caught, I realized, this is me. This is what I need to do. So since then, I traveled, I surfed, I did yoga, I took a teacher training in Costa Rica again. Went to a whole bunch of conscious festivals like the Open Mind Festival, the Om Reunion Festival in Toronto. Before the Mystical Yoga Farm, I was in Australia for 2 years, and that's where I found yoga and permaculture. So I studied yoga there, my 200 hour, at this beautiful place by the ocean, and then I studied permaculture for a year after that. And I just knew that it was something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I decided I wanted to take those skills somewhere and be able to teach them, preferably in a setting where another language was spoken. So I decided to come to Central America and continue to practice and teach yoga and permaculture. Yeah, this lake was formed about 85,000 years ago. The caldera was formed in a massive explosion, and it killed all life from Florida down to Costa Rica. And in that explosion, it birthed these three massive volcanoes. So we've got San Pedro and Toliman and Atitlan. And the lake itself is kind of like the center of a massive volcano, and it's about 350 meters deep in certain places. And yeah, it's used to at one point have, I think, over 100 different Mayan tribes and little villages around the lake. Now there's three main Mayan languages spoken around the lake, Sutahil, Quechua, and Quiche. And the locals around here that work on the farm speak Sutahil. So I thought I'd come here and learn a lot of Spanish, but I've been slowly learning Spanish with them. We both speak about the same level, but it's really interesting learning a lot about the Mayan traditions, and the Mayan dialect is fascinating as well. The people are really beautiful. And the allure of coming here for me was learning from so many people. We have so many incredible people passing through this farm who are attracted for various reasons, and I've met some of the most amazing people I think I've ever met in my whole life at this farm. And so taking a little piece from every person who passes through has been an incredible gift.
I think most of us are in constant search for a happier life, and that's why self-help, meditation, and yoga really has propelled in the last 10 to 15 years, even longer. But I think as people try to erase a lot of the stresses around themselves, they forget about the one thing that's most important, really looking into themselves.
I got married when I was 19, and it wasn't easy. 4 years of a lot of learning and trial and error, and then I also finished college for social work, and I was working at a group home with individuals with different abilities, all kinds of behavioral patterns that are in need of like strict control. So a lot of learning there as well, but very difficult. And that was actually quite an amazing experience. But then I left that job, realized that something needs to be different. After 5 years of doing that, I need to follow something else that my heart tells me to follow. Wasn't sure what it was, but I left my husband, became, the explorer of life, and just went with whatever felt right.
My parents are very free-spirited, and they like to travel, but they always like to come back to home. I guess they married young and had kids young, and so one lesson I took from them, even though they kind of taught it indirectly, was that I really wanted to figure out who I was and establish myself first before establishing my family and my roots.
I remember that day, it was freezing in Toronto, and I was on my way to work. For how many times was I taking the same bus on the same route, reading the same newspaper, which I literally only read the horoscope part for my horoscope every morning, and every time I read it, it would tell me like, go travel, go travel, go travel. I'm like,
I'm finding that. I'm finding out who I am, and eventually probably will settle down. But thankfully, having seen them settle down so young, early 20s, and not have the opportunity to do this and travel around, I've learned that that's something I for sure want to do and establish who I am before putting down roots like they did.
And I need to do what I need to do. And I booked that ticket, spent all my savings, and came back and didn't have a job, didn't want to go back to the job I had, and I just said I'll do whatever it takes, but I'm not going back to that lifestyle. I'm gonna follow my heart.
Don't be scared to take the leap. I would tell people back home, I have friends as well who say, I'd love to do what you do, but I have a job, I have a car, I have a boyfriend, I have a mortgage, and just not letting those things stand in your way. I think those are kind of self-imposed boundaries, and they're easily removed as long as you put your passions and, pursuit of self first. And even if you just put pause on that lifestyle for a little bit, anybody can come here. Anybody can, delve deeper into who they are and like take a risk. And I promise that risk taking is so worth it.
And that was about the time that I started doing yoga and, started a new life, left those jobs, and then went to Costa Rica. And the way I think myself through this process of diving into the unknown is just diving into the unknown because it feels right. Like trusting that feeling inside of you that, although it seems irrational to everyone, including myself, there's something within me that tells me that this is actually the right thing to do. And just trusting that crazy feeling because it just feels like the right thing to do. And that's just embracing the unknown.
In the daily grinds of living, whether you're being pulled professionally or personally, there's little time to really focus on yourself. And most important, everything around you. Here, you learn about being present-minded, focusing on your breath, the sights and sounds around you, realizing who you are and what your strengths are and how to amplify them. For many of us, maybe we don't have the ability to go to a retreat or hideaway in Guatemala, but we can do this just as easy at home by taking a look at ourselves, slowing down for a moment, at least once or twice a day, focusing on your breath, and really everything around you. By taking this step, you may find a happier self. Not only that, find more value in everything that you see, you do, and the people around you.